So, your company needs to move a key leader to your US office, and not just for a little while, but for the long haul. Well, there's a specific immigration path designed for exactly that, one that can turn a temporary transfer into a permanent move. Today, we're going to unpack that powerful L1 to EB1C pathway. Let's get into it. Okay, picture this. You're a key player at a global company and they need you, your skills, your leadership, to help grow the US side of the business. The real question is, how do you make that happen? Not just for a year or two, but how do you build a real future there? For a lot of people in this exact spot, the answer is a visa called the L1. The L1 visa was literally made for this. It's a temporary visa that lets companies move their people between international and US offices. But here's the secret sauce, the part that makes it so powerful. It's what's called a dual intent visa. That means you can be in the US on this temporary visa while at the very same time you're applying for a permanent green card. That is a massive advantage you don't get with a lot of other visas. Now, the L1 isn't a one-size-fits-all deal. The path you end up on really depends on your role in the company. Are you a manager or executive, or are you a specialist? It's a critical choice, and as you're about to see, it can change everything about your journey. And here are those two lanes. You've got the L1A for executives and managers, which gives you up to 7 years, and more importantly, a much more direct path to a green card. Then there's the L1B for specialists. It's shorter, maxing out at 5 years, and the road to a green card is often way more complicated. Because the L1A is so much more streamlined, that's what we're going to focus on in this explainer. So what does managerial capacity actually mean to US immigration? Well, your job title doesn't really matter. You have to prove that your main job is managing a team of professionals or a critical business function. You need real authority. Like, can you actually hire and fire people? Do you direct what happens day to day? Think less about being a frontline supervisor of interns and more about being a team lead for a group of engineers or accountants. Executive capacity is a whole other level. This isn't just about managing people anymore. This is about steering the ship. We're talking about setting the big goals, creating company policies, and making those high-level decisions with very little oversight. This is for the senior leaders who are really shaping the company's future. Okay, so whether you're a manager or an executive, there are two big rules that every single L1 case has to follow. These are the absolute non-negotiables of the entire process. First up, the company structure. Your office abroad and your office in the US can't just be friends or partners. They have to be legally connected in one of these 4 ways: as a parent, branch, subsidiary, or affiliate. This proves it's a true intra-company transfer, keeping it all in the family, so to speak. And second is the 1-year rule. This is super important. Before the company can even apply to transfer you, you must have worked for them outside the US for at least 1 full continuous year within the last 3 years. This shows you have a recent relevant experience inside that same company. Okay, now let's get to the main event. Let's see how this all leads up to what so many people are aiming for: permanent residency, aka the green card. This is where that L1A visa really flexes its muscles. The final destination on this path is the EB1C green card. This is the big one. It's an immigrant visa in the absolute highest priority category for employment-based green cards. And it was created specifically to be the permanent version of the temporary L1A visa. And here it is, the single biggest reason this path is so amazing. You get to skip the perm labor certification process completely. For almost every other employment-based green card, the employer has to go through this long, painful, and expensive process to prove there aren't any qualified US workers for the job. The EB1C lets you jump right over that massive hurdle. This can literally save you years of waiting. So you can see how this creates this perfect streamlined flow, right? The L1A visa isn't just a temporary stopgap. Think of it as the on-ramp to the permanent residency express lane. This chart really lays it out clearly. Look how similar the requirements are. Both are for managers. And critically, neither requires that painful perm process. The main differences are the outcome, temporary versus permanent, and one other key rule you can't forget. For the EB1C green card, the US office has to have been up and running for at least 1 year. So just how reliable is this path? Well, the numbers speak for themselves. The recent approval rate for EB1C petitions is over 97%.
Now, of course, nothing is ever guaranteed, but that incredibly high number tells you that by the time someone gets to this stage, their case is usually rock solid and very well documented.
And to put that number in perspective, let's compare it to another high-priority visa, the EB-1A, for people with extraordinary ability. Think Nobel Prize winners or top athletes. Its approval rate is way lower, at just under 67%. That huge difference, almost 98% versus 67%, really shows you the strategic power of this structured, employer-sponsored EB-1C route. All right, we've gone over a ton of information. Let's pull all the pieces together and map it out so you have a clear, strategic plan to take away from all this. So, let's recap the roadmap. It all starts with the L1 visa and its powerful dual intent status. If you're a manager or executive, the L1A visa is your direct on-ramp to the EB1C green card. The biggest win? You get to skip the whole perm process, which is a massive time saver. The most critical factor for making it all work is having detailed evidence that proves your leadership role. And remember, the U.S. company needs to be in business for at least 1 year before you can file for that final permanent status. And that brings us to the final question to think about. This whole L1 to EB1C path isn't just an immigration process. It's a serious business strategy. It's a tool for making sure you have leadership continuity and long-term stability in the U.S. market. It lets global companies invest in what really matters, their best people.